I want to say that my female 33, husband 28, has been sick for over 8 months now. I won't get into details, but his condition is serious. Ever since he got sick, I started getting constantly criticized by his mother. She tends to act so overprotectively of him as her only child. She'd always pick at me and blames me for everything, from him getting an infection or fever, saying I'm not keeping the house clean or sanitizing enough, while all she does is sit around all her visits until I have an argument with her and she no longer comes over. As a result, she no longer got updates on my husband's condition. Instead, she tried snooping around and then publicly called me out for keeping her from seeing her son, even though she visited him a week ago at the hospital. Apparently, she visited his doctor and discussed his condition. I found out when my husband's uncle called to scold me, saying my husband suffers from a disease, which is recent, because of my lack of care. I was confused and asked how he knew. He directed me to the social media post my mother-in-law made. It turned out she took medical information from my husband's doctor and shared it in a social media post with everyone using the title, "This is what my son's wife doesn't want me to know." Then she went on to say that my husband was getting worse by the hour under my care, or lack of, and proceeded to say I was doing this to punish her and had others agree that what I was doing was appalling and disgraceful. I was so mad because my in-laws came at me after this post. My husband's current reaction is anger. He's already struggling mentally with his illness, and his mother's behavior has made things worse. I was mainly mad at my husband's doctor. I argued with him and told him I wouldn't be letting this slide after he said I misunderstood the situation. I threatened to report him for his misconduct and refused to sit down for a talk. My family got involved and supported me since this wasn't fair, but they said I should leave the doctor alone and out of my in-laws' drama since he eventually didn't lie or agreed to fabricate some false info if my mother-in-law asked. They told me to step down about reporting him and focus on my husband's health. But my brother said, "Do it, because it's the doctor who gave your info to the sad excuse of a mother-in-law to come at you like that." So I ended up reporting him and was criticized for going through with my threat. Am I wrong about this? To clarify, yes, my husband's doctor was informed of the situation with my mother-in-law, and she doesn't have direct permission to access medical information unless it's through my husband or me. Not the idiot, and I would even go further. And if you have the time and money, invest in a lawyer and sue her for defamation for the Facebook post. What she did is so horrible. Such rumors can mess your life up in many ways. She needs to be stopped, and if you have the means, the law will do just that. Get your brother to help. He seems to get how serious this is. Not the idiot at all. And it's disturbing so many people wanted you to give this doctor a pass for a major professional violation. Anyone who works with sensitive information has data protection/privacy drilled in. I know from professional experience, whenever I'm asked for info, my first thought is check they are allowed access. It's rote now. This wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. It was a flagrant disregard for privacy. Exactly. There is a reason HIPAA is in place. It prevents abusive situations. It prevents exploitation. And this is a classic reason why it is so necessary. OP filed with the state medical board and the health system he works for. He was in direct violation of HIPAA. There's no need for a conversation with the doctor. If he did it this one time, he has done it before. He would do it again. As for your mother-in-law, she sounds terrible. I'm so sorry. My son is in 3rd grade and has a birthday party coming up. I gave him roughly about 9 or 10 invites so he can invite any of his friends that wanted to come, and they could give them to their parents and have them call me. When I go to pick him up at the end of the day, his teacher waves me over. I asked her what was up, and she said that I shouldn't have my son pass out invites if there weren't enough for the whole class. I asked him which class he passed them out in, and he said his math class, because that's the one where most of his friends were. I turned back to her and said I couldn't afford to hold a party where almost 25 to 30 kids would attend. I was trying to keep it relatively small anyways. She said, "Well, don't have your son passing them out in my class. We have students who don't have the opportunities to celebrate their birthdays, and it was unfair to give them the disappointment of not being invited." I told her, well, that was unfortunate, It was not my problem to make the other kids in the class happy. She said, "Listen, parents make things I have nothing to do with my problem all the time. Just please don't do this again, or I'll be writing your son up." Him passing those invites out distracted the class. She then said he should apologize to the class tomorrow. I was pretty upset and told her I would be addressing this with the principal later. Me and my son went home. I don't really see it as my issue. It's not like I told him not to invite any of his poor classmates. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You don't pass out invites in class unless you are inviting everyone. Email, text message, and the U.S. Postal Service exist. In fact, a lot of schools actually have a policy that you may not pass out invites at school and class unless you are inviting everyone. The teacher is correct. At least have him hand them out at the end of class and not in front of everyone. All you had to say was, "Sorry, I won't do it again." But instead you kept repeating, "Not my problem." Exactly. OP was being lazy and inconsiderate. I think it would be common sense to get the names of your son's friends and then contact their parents directly, since you didn't plan to invite his entire class. It doesn't even sound like OP gave the kid instructions to not hand out the invites in class and to do it at recess instead, which would have been at least reasonable. You are the idiot, OP. Why do you feel entitled to create a distraction during the teacher's time versus doing it after class or on your own time? It does also create rejection and hurt feelings for young kids that don't get invited. This seems unnecessary and irresponsible as a parent that should care about all kids, like the teacher obviously does. It sounds like you don't give much thought to other kids' feelings, only what you and your son want. I'm going to be the contrarian and say OP is not the idiot. We need to start teaching our kids that disappointment is a part of life, and they're not entitled to something just because someone else has it. These are important life lessons that should be reinforced in school, rather than blanket banning normal real-life experiences because they're slightly inconvenient. I know we want to protect our kids from every single negative experience, but all you get from that is overly sensitive entitled brats who grow into the overly sensitive entitled adults that people complain about. I am losing my mind over here. My boyfriend's mom moved in with us after she was laid off from her job, temporarily, of course, but it's going on about 8 months now. I, like hundreds of millions of people on this earth, am left-handed. It hasn't posed much of a problem for me ever since I left school and got away from Tiny Desk, but she, who I will call mother-in-law for simplicity's sake, for unfathomable reasons, is determined to make it one. We have a smattering of specialty left-handed items throughout the house: scissors, measuring cup, can opener, some lefty Japanese knives. Since I did all of the cooking for my boyfriend and me, we don't have any normal versions of the kitchen items, except for a regular chef's knife. According to mother-in-law, this is wrong. I am not accommodating her and her son and creating a hostile environment that says you don't belong here, in the kitchen. She didn't ask, but demanded that I buy normal versions of the lefty items in the house that she could use. Here's where I might be the idiot. I told her that I wouldn't be buying anything new and that she should be grateful for living here and that she can use a left-handed can opener just like I can use a right-handed one, and she needs to suck it up and get over it. I told her I didn't appreciate her switching the direction of the toilet rolls in shared bathrooms and adjusting the thermostat when she wasn't the one paying the bills. Finally, I said that we do her a huge favor by letting her move in with us and that my house isn't a hotel. She snapped back that a good host should make their home accessible for guests and that I use a right-handed computer mouse, so it's not much of a burden for me to use right-handed goods as it is for her to use lefty stuff. She lost her job and she just wants to be comfortable in her own home. I tell her it's not her own home and that boyfriend would be speaking to her later about establishing house rules. She started sobbing loudly and said she might as well disappear. I told her I didn't have time for her theatrics and left for work. On the first day we serve you, on the second day you serve yourself, on the third day you serve us. It was by a lady who had the firm belief that you're only a guest for 3 days. She also has another quote saying that you should throw a guest out after 3 days. OP, you're not a host after that time. Mother-in-law just lives there. She needs to contribute as a full member of the house, not act as a guest and just demand things when you're generous anyway. Not the idiot. LOL. I'm a lefty and just got my first pair of left-handed fabric scissors a week ago. My God, what a treat. But you know what I did for the 33 years before this time? Just use right-handed tools. If she wants these things, she can buy them. Your mother-in-law is entitled. Not the idiot. Well, yes, a good host would want to make their guests comfortable. That depends on how likable the guest is. It sounds like she's overstayed her welcome. And on top of that, being unreasonable about what makes her uncomfortable, lefties use right-handed items all the time. And while I'm sure it's not the most fun, it's doable. So mother-in-law needs to figure it out if she wants to live in your house. You laid it out for her. This isn't her home. If she wants to be comfortable with right-handed items, she should get her own place. Also for small items, not toilet roll configurations, but a mouse, a can opener, etc., why can't she buy her own stuff? Is it because she's broke? Is she living rent-free in your home, using utilities and not paying a single cent for any groceries, house supplies, anything? Because in that case, she sure has some audacity telling you should be more accommodating. She pays no rent, no utilities or groceries, and we have been paying for her prescriptions as well. She was terrible with money and had zero savings of any kind when she lost her job. She has no income or savings that we know of and arrived at our house with 2 big suitcases of clothes and not much else. The rest of her stuff is in a storage unit that is absolutely jam-packed. She is not a guest. She's a resident and is responsible for herself. Also, since she isn't paying rent and utilities, you need to start charging her because 8 months is a really long time to live with anyone, but especially your boyfriend's mother. If she's so uncomfortable, then she can move out ASAP. I'm so sorry that this isn't working out for you, mother-in-law. Let's find you somewhere that you'll be more comfortable. So my fiance struggles with severe social anxiety and has a hard time defending himself to people and will only do so if the situation gets extreme. A girl we've known for some time recently started trying to make moves on him, even though she knows he's engaged. My fiance has tried to stop her multiple times, but he's not a very confrontational person, and she keeps going, even when I'm present. She'll make risque jokes to him, imply how good of a couple they would be, and so on. My fiance has told her multiple times not to do that. I haven't spoken because I've been told it's my fiance's issue to fix. I've seen my fiance try multiple times, but she's picked up on my fiance's social anxiety and took advantage of it. One time I snapped while she was doing this in my presence, and I told her she should be ashamed of herself, that she has no self-respect, etc. She called me an idiot and said that I should be mad at my fiance instead of her. She's got no obligation to be respectful to me. So I flipped her off and cussed her out again, and she called me insane and left. My friends have told me that I'm the idiot because even though my fiance has tried to stop her, it was not my business to speak and blame her. After all, a woman is never to blame when something like that happens, and they explained to me she's got no obligation to respect me, but apparently I have to respect her. I don't know. Am I the idiot? She called me an idiot and said I should be mad at my fiance instead of her. Hold on there. He's not flirting. She is. And you should be mad at your fiance? That's the most messed up logic I've ever heard. As for your friends, what century are they living in that a woman is never to blame? You're not the idiot. She is, though. Can you and your fiance avoid being around this girl at all? She sounds like a drama stirrer, and it's something you should consider. No, not the idiot. I'm sorry your friends are wrong for defending a fly. If they know your fiance, they know it's hard for him to defend himself. You were being a good SO, not only sticking up for yourself, but alleviating a situation that left your fiance uncomfortable all the time. Since she wants to act like a cat in heat, perhaps carry around a little spray bottle and just squirt her with it when she starts acting a fool. And don't let anyone else make you feel bad for defending your person and yourself. What this woman is doing qualifies as harassment. No means no, and she's refusing to respect that. No way would anyone expect you to be respectful if the genders were reversed. Piece of advice. I sure hope your fiance is doing something to learn how to stand up for himself, face confrontations, and get a handle on his anxieties because this is stuff that will adversely affect your marriage. Your friends suck. Women absolutely have agency and should be held responsible for their actions. Women who knowingly prey on men in relationships, especially where they know both parties in the relationship, are the worst. She knows he's involved, had been told to back off, and is claiming she shouldn't be held responsible? Screw that. She's a predator and gets off on feeling powerful by messing with the guy's emotions and making your SO flustered. She's the idiot, and your friends who are excusing her are too. Me, female 39, and my husband, 41, have a little son who recently became a wheelchair user. It's been difficult, and we're doing our best to adapt to the situation. But my husband and I take turns in caring for our son. We wanted to hire a caregiver, but they're expensive, and our financial issues haven't been worked out yet. So I was glad when my husband said he had arranged to stay home with our son while I go to work, and then I do the same when he's working. He could also get another position at the company where he's required to work fewer hours and be home early. We've had many discussions, and our schedule keeps changing, but each of us is aware of our responsibilities. It's not easy, but we do all we can. My husband is a gamer. He can't stay without playing at least 3 times a week, and I don't mind, seeing as it is his way to cool off and get some time away from stress. Yesterday, he was at home the entire morning. I had to work till 3 p.m. I made food and put it in the fridge. I gave my son his tablet and told my husband to do what he usually does to take care of our son while I'm gone. He said okay. At 2 p.m., I got a text from my son telling me he needed me because his dad had been in his room playing Xbox and only made him breakfast. I couldn't wait until 3 p.m. I went home immediately. I got into an argument with my husband after my son told me he wet himself and his dad didn't take care of it. I yelled at him after I saw that he was in the middle of playing a game on his Xbox. My husband said I shouldn't scream and he would take care of it, but I'm just looking for an excuse to lash out. I couldn't believe he only fed him breakfast, and that's it. I unplugged the Xbox. My husband threw a hissy fit, saying I overreacted massively and that he's too stressed out and exhausted. He admitted his mistake, but blamed me for doing this to his Xbox. I took my son over to my sister's house. He spoke to my sister and told her it was a one-time thing and I was too harsh, and that he's a human who forgets too. I stopped responding to him, and my sister thought it was no big deal. Not the idiot. You have a disabled child. Unfortunately, the time for chilling and playing Xbox is gone. How dare your husband allow your son to sit in his urine because he was playing games? As for your sister excusing him and saying it was a one-time thing, is almost as bad in my opinion. It's this attitude that enables people to get away with being crappy people. Until your husband can admit how bad this must have been for your son and admit he was completely in the wrong, I would not want him looking after him. His taking control and getting rid of the Xbox himself might be a start. Personally, I'd throw the husband away with the Xbox. My thing is, their son texted his mom, pleading for help. How many times did he do the same to his dad before she was involved? How many times was he ignored to continue gaming? I'm sure their son knew she was at work and only to contact her in an emergency, as the husband was home for normal care. It's not like he's a baby and can't reach out for help. This wasn't a mistake. It was blatantly ignoring their son. The gaming isn't the problem here. The dad being a complete piece of crap is.